Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. Core Bonds Trade Listless Analysis http ntvforex.com News ID A69536814 2026-2027 AM Markets investors lift their feet from the throttle yesterday in a session where both equities and core bonds faced moderate selling pressure. U.S. jobless claims fell more than expected and below 1,963,000, yet was largely ignored. It adds to our case that markets currently are more vulnerable to negative surprises news. In this respect, Senate Leader McConnell's announcement that the Senate will go in recess until September 7, making a stimulus deal basically impossible before then and raising risks for the economy. The news added to the risk-off with U.S. equities extending minor losses to end up to 0.3% lower. EMU stock declines ranged from 0.5% to 0.9%. Core bonds also fell with USDs underperforming the bund after a disappointing record-sized 30-year auction $26 BN. Bonds were awarded at 1.406% versus 1.382% WI with the lowest bid to cover 2.14 and the highest primary dealer award since July 2019. U.S. Treasuries accelerated their decline in the wake of the auction results, the long end in particular. U.S. yields rose 0.2 bps 2-year over 1.8 bps 5-year to 5.4 bps 30-year with the 5y30y spread ticking the highest in a month. The German yield curve also bear steepened as yields rose up to 3.5 bps 10-year. Peripheral spreads widened, Portugal 4 bps underperformed. The dollar remained in the defensive for most of the European session despite the fragile sentiment but staged a comeback as U.S. investors started joining. EUR/USD reached an intraday high near 1.186 but closed at 1.1816 eventually, up from 1.178. The sudden rise in U.S. yields probably helped the greenback to recover. USD/JPY closed shy of 107 after an attempt to capture the barrier failed. Sterling went nowhere. After Wednesday's hit, the British currency oscillated near opening levels of 0.904. Asian markets trade fragile this morning. Chinese equity gains faded after a disappointing batch of industrial production figures 4.8% YY versus 5.2% expected and especially poor retail sales 1.1% YY versus 0.1% expected. The series remind markets of a bumpy recovery. South Korea 2% is the notable underperformer as the country saw its daily coronavirus cases almost double. Core bonds trade listless. RBA Governor Lowe said it is possible the policy rate could go lower, even negative A though unlikely A, and would like to have the Aussie dollar to be lower to boost job growth. He doesn't think the currency is overvalued at this stage however. AUD/USD overcame initial weakness by Lowe's comments rather quickly. Other dollar pairs, including EUR/USD and USD/JPY, are trading little changed 1.1814 and 106.87 respectively. Today's U.S. retail sales and industrial production figures, both July readings, will draw attention. Retail sales are expected at 2.1% after a 7.5% rise in June. We don't exclude a negative surprise as the technical recovery continues to stall and U.S. consumers might have started to rein in spending in anticipation of additional jobless benefits and other measures ending. Especially in combination with a possibly disappointing U of Michigan consumer confidence as stimulus talks remain totally deadlocked, we could see some more profit-taking going into the weekend. Core bonds should thus remain well bid. Poor U.S. echo data probably aren't exactly helpful to the greenback. However, the August price action at least suggests some EUR/USD fatigue, so we don't expect losses for the USD, if any, to go very far, more so given the shaky risk environment. Sterling, meanwhile, eyes next week's new round of formal Brexit talks. With both parties still at odds over themes including a level playing field and fisheries, we don't see a reason for sterling to rally in anticipation of a quick deal. NBSP News headlines: The United Kingdom has placed Malta, the Netherlands, and France to its list of countries from which people arriving have to quarantine for 14 days as concerns rise over new cases in each of those countries. Yesterday morning, government sources indicated new restrictions would not be imposed. However, the latest data convinced ministers to act now. Download the full Sunrise Market commentary. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://m.me/mt5.expert.advisors.